was the script already sort of fully formed when you came to it? Did it come to you? How did that evolve?
The script was sent to me by my agents because they believed that I was going to like it, and of course Dennis' stories are already known, and there's a universe that was, very close to my interest, of stories that I would like to tell. And when I actually read it, I really wished that I had written it. So it was extremely well written, but it's also, the real perfect story for me. Also, for a second feature, I wrote Bullhead myself, and I mean, writing is a very intense process, and this just came really on a good moment, and I just loved the story. And Dennis was very, the script was already in a great shape when I got it. But when I got attached to direct it, then I said, this is my script, it's my story, but it's your movie. Here it is. And he was very generous and gave me all the freedom to adapt and work on the script, and I could call him all the time, with ideas and things I wanted to change and stuff like that. So, and even during the shooting, we were still sometimes working on dialogues. I remember one time, Dennis and I were just walking on the sidewalk in Brooklyn during lunchtime because we wanted to rework a scene that we're going to shoot the next day, and writing the dialogues on a napkin. So he's great to work with, and I hope to do it once again somewhere. Yeah.
Brooklyn is such a fantastic character in the film, of course, as well, and there's that real sense of a sort of a fading Brooklyn, or the fading old ways of this sort of community that we find ourselves in. What was it like for you as an outsider, doing your first English language film and coming into New York and finding and setting the scene for this film?
I was a little worried in the beginning when I read the script. It was still set in Boston. But Dennis started writing, was part of the writer's room of Boardwalk Empire. So he was in Brooklyn for 6 months before I even was attached to direct the film. So when we decided, and we all were kind of questioning, should we keep it in Boston because there's no real reason. And he just put it there because he's from Boston. And we said, can we just not move it away to another place? And then very, very soon, Brooklyn became almost an obvious choice. And for me personally, it was interesting because in Brooklyn there are a lot of outsiders, literally. It's huge. It's so. Brooklyn has so many faces. The one that we showed was the one I found for real. It needed to be more like a blue-collar, working class neighborhood with a strong Catholic society, and it was real. It existed. So also going in a sort of anthropological expedition in finding that bar, I kind of saw maybe 150 bars in Brooklyn, and immediately saw all the people, the way they talk, the way they, the way they are.
But I mean, it's a really stunning cast, and Noomi, your performance I think is terrific, and obviously the character of Nadia is both incredibly sort of delicate on the one hand and very tough on the other. And can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with the film, and also, what attracted you to her character?
Actually, I read the script before Michaël was even involved, and before Tom. And I read it quite early, and I loved the story and the characters from the first time I read it. And you know, some scripts are like a whole kind of ocean with waves. You know, you can just go in and kind of surf on them. And sometimes, you know, there can be something good in a script, but you know you need to work on it. And this one was something that was so solid and so well written and beautiful and strong. So I couldn't let go. I kind of, you know, I kept thinking about it and emailing Fox, Claudia Lewis, and asking her what's going on with, it was called Animal Rescue back then. And then she said to me at one point that the offer was out to Michaël to direct it. And I got like completely obsessed about the thought of him doing it, because I've seen Bullhead, which I loved, and I even had a copy that I was like giving to people to watch. So and then you know, they went out to Tom, and it felt like it came together like the perfect combination of people. So and I came to Brussels, and we met and we spoke for 8 hours, and. And I was, it was no way back.
Well, we're appreciative of that fact. Can I ask you more broadly about the cast and how you, and what it was like for you, I guess, as a step going from your first feature film to a film that has, you know, such an extraordinary and very international group of actors?
I just always, you know, I think every director just dreams of working with the best. That's where you start. And look, I was very lucky to have a great team. I mean, Searchlight, Claudia Lewis and David Greenbaum and Michaël R, Jenno and Peter from Chernin Entertainment were just great people to have and to start this project. So I could immediately launch my wish list, and it was all the actors my number ones. So the casting process was so smooth and fast, and then you just don't think about it anymore. You just work. You know you have the great talent, and then it's about me doing my job as good as I can. And I mean, those guys are just really inspiring, and you know you have to do the best.
Noomi, did you work directly with the other actors as you were sort of developing? Was there a lot of work done before the shooting, or was it mostly done on set?
Well, yeah, I like to always do like research and you know, prepare. And so I was in Brooklyn, and I was we were spending time together and talking a lot, and I was at this rescue center for dogs, you know, kind of walking dogs, and just learning the routines and trying to get my head around, you know, how people, what kind of lives people were living there, and what people look like and stuff like that. But I was kind of on my own because Tom was shooting Locke, so he came straight from Locke, so he can come, you know, kind of last minute. And then, but it was very much a collaboration, the whole process. There was actually one scene in the movie that was not in the script, something that I felt that that was missing, a scene between me and Eric Deeds, Nadia's ex-boyfriend. And it was something
in the kitchen with when he breaks into the house.
in the kitchen, yeah. And it was something that I told Michaël, and we started to talk about it. And then Matthias came like a couple of weeks into the shoot, and you know, the first thing I said to him when we met in this restaurant, I was like, "Nice to meet you. I think Bullhead is fantastic. So let's talk about this. We need a scene. Let's, you know." And then we started to kind of just dig into it, and there was a scene we improvised. That was and he made the cut. So, and that kind of shows the way we all kind of work together. It was very much we're a team, and we were laughing a lot, and it was a good one.
Can I ask you, Michaël, about your own sort of filmic influences? We've seen now, I think, 2 films from you in which a sort of fairly brutal, rugged masculinity is a kind of central thread to these films. You know, what kind of cinema do you go to for your inspiration? Who are your heroes?
I think I always try to tell a story that is dealing with. One of the things that I'm very intrigued with is you know, the effects of being powerless, you know, the impotence in many ways. It's the fight or the struggle with the powers that, you know, come to us, but at the same time there's a power inside of us that also, you know, when you say I cannot help it, You know, I can't help it. I'm doing it. It's like something is stronger than you, can be can come from two directions. You know, from inside, but also from outside, and it's the clash between those two powers. That little moment, that's that vibration. That for me is life, and that's where I wanna. That's the kind of stories I want to tell about that clash. So it's actually about life, but of course I start with a tradition of the archetype of the, you know, the desperate struggling male in this brutal world, and of course I will evolve. I'm evolving in my stories, and it will go, and I will try to investigate that specific battle, that struggle that, you know, the humans have. I'm trying to bring that into the screen and into a story. The bar that we used is actually an out-of-business place. So the only real thing that was there was the counter. It was empty. And the reason why we took it is because the places we loved and that were really inspiring to, you know, to us, were real bars, and it was so typical that the owners didn't want to close their bars for a movie. It would be like, what, 6 weeks? And they said, listen, even if you pay me a lot of money, I might lose my customers because they might go somewhere else. And many of those people do actually, it's their second living room. And closing their bars was just a big risk, even for a movie. Even they're like, oh yeah, and then when you said, you know, James Gandolfini, like, oh, of course, all those guys love this guy. And they said, but yeah, you know, we can't do it. And there would be sometimes a bar with only 4 people, like, and they're like, dude, it's just 4. And he's like, yeah, but those 4 are gonna come for the next 20 years. And you're going to be gone in 6 weeks, and then I can close my bar. I'm like, okay. And then we started to think, you know, we have to do something. And we came up with the idea to go and find an out of, you know, a closed place. And we kind of made our perfect Brooklyn bar. It's based on 3 bars that I loved, and it's kind of a collage of. Can you say that, a collage? Is that English? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Of those 3. So, and the advantage was also that we could control the lighting of the place, because all the lights is all like controlled light. It's like the whole basement was full with dimmers and little machines to control it, and that gave us a lot of artistic freedom to make this bar visually look good. And so Nicholas Karakatsanis, the DP, did an amazing job on that. So. Well, I didn't do a lot, actually. I just picked a guy and I said, listen, just, you know, do whatever you're good at, you know. Actually, you might be surprised, directing is not so hard with those guys. You know. So, but what I think, I always saw something in Tom that reminded me of Gary Cooper. And I wanted this film, I was always kind of influenced or with the idea of telling a Christmas tale and having it, you know, there's a gritty part to it, but there's also a fable element into it. And I once said that I want to have this film feel like if Capra would have directed Taxi Driver. And that's how I felt when I read the script. I really felt very much that Christmas tale element into it. And then Tom, he's just, I mean, it's proven on the screen for me. I mean, I'm very happy the way he brought Bob. And in the original story, Bob was older. He was in the short story, he was in the end of his 40s. He was just very close to Marv as an age. And I decided I wanted him to have him younger. And it was within making him younger, the idea came of, you know, I want, it's so hard to explain how it goes. It's like, so when you cook, you know, you can't really say how much salt you put into it, right? It's just and you feel it. You take those guys, it's the same with Noomi, and you just do it. So. I think James was really fantastic. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. I mean, that's proven. Great artist, but he also was a great guy. A gentle giant, I called him. He was, and I think first thing that I was really surprised with was his, he was so humble in a way. Also, if I wouldn't have known him, I would think it was his first part. He come in totally like naked. He has so much experience, but he would never rely on it. It was, he would just start from scratch, like totally with the same fear, the same, you know, we all are very insecure. Only we know kind of what we're doing, but you never really know. And he showed it in a way that was really amazing, to have James Gandolfini, of all people, just walk in and be very nervous about it.
I remember once when I came to set, and I was going to work after lunch, and they were doing a scene between Tom and Jimmy in the morning.
In the basement, right?
In the basement, yeah, in Marv's house. And I was just going to go in and say hi to you. And I couldn't leave, because every take, I started to watch one take between them. And it was so alive and brilliant and real. And I was glued to my seat. And my PA was like saying that I had to go to makeup. And I couldn't leave, because every take was so different. And it was just, the acting that both Tom and Jimmy did was, you know, absolutely incredible. And he felt like he was constantly searching and open for everything. It was, you know, incredible to watch.
Yeah, nothing was for granted. You know, he was really working very hard. In the beginning, I didn't even know that he wasn't even like, he's so funny, but it was not in the beginning. He was really nervous. He was really focused, and it was just after a couple of weeks that he started, you know, to feel more comfortable and everybody, of course, because it's the process. And then we discovered that he's actually one of the funniest guys I ever met. Yeah, he's really cool.